Wow, this is an awkward silence.
So awkward.
So how
I don't
about that
know.
weather?
How about the weather? Where are you from, by the way? The US?
From no, don't say
Oh,
that.
US? Yeah.
No, never. From New Zealand, the beautiful
Oh,
country
cool,
of New
cool.
Zealand.
If it's only been on a map.
Pardon?
If it's only been on a map.
Yeah,
though.
well, it's the best place in the country, sir, in the world. Sorry.
Ifty, where are you from?
Israeli.
Israel, eh?
Well, Israel living in Germany right now.
Yeah. Why you going to Germany for school, right?
Yes. I go to Heidelberg University. I basically started my master's there in Transcultural Studies, and I really enjoy the university, the staff, the environment, and decided to continue there for my PhD.
Something different from your side. You went to business.
Yeah, I went to university. I done business management and Japanese language, mainly Japanese language, not so much business management. But
Where, in Japan? Or
in Japan, yes. So I left from high school straight over here initially to play sports, rugby, and part of that was I had to go to university and
Which
study Hakko University. Well, I actually went to two. I went to Nichidai, then I changed halfway through and I went to Hakko University, which is all the way out in Tochigi. And that's where I studied Japanese and business management a bit more. Mainly Japanese, but yeah, good experience. You said you went to university with Suda.
Yes.
What was he like in university? Was he?
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
what?
couldn't imagine.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. It was, I mean, we're still in touch. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's sort of indication of how that he wasn't that terrible. I hope the feeling is mutual. No, it was fine. We had this common group of friends.
So you went back to Germany? Is that where you, and now you're back here in Japan? How long have you been?
No,
In,
I originally I was a bachelor student of history and Asian studies at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. In that capacity, I was sent to Soka University as an exchange student for 1 year. I also spent 1 year before that in University of Manchester in the UK as well, because I could, I guess. Then I continued to do a master's in Transcultural Studies in Heidelberg in Germany. They've actually sent me to half a year in Kyoto University. That was in 2016, 2017. I finished my degree. I took almost like a year off, started my PhD. I had the brilliant idea of starting a PhD in the end of 2019, which was an excellent time to start your PhD. And now I'm here this time on kind of like a research capacity rather than an exchange student capacity.
oh, nice. So why Japan? You just here just for work purposes, or could you have chosen any other country, or you just decided Japan?
In which, like, from the beginning, or
No, if like recently.
Well, it's part of. I'm researching the issue of Yasukuni and the Temple Mount. So I already went to Israel to do my field research there. I got my data, and I needed to do the same thing in Japan. So now I'm here. I couldn't get here. The original plan was that I should be coming here in about 2020, 2021. But obviously COVID, so that didn't work out. So I used the fact that I'm an Israeli to get into Israel, and I did my field research there before. And then after finishing, I came to Japan. Yeah.
Nice.
The plan is to go back to Germany now and finish writing my dissertation. Yeah, that's
Can you explain briefly and simply what transcultural studies is?
Yes.
Because I have no clue what it is.
so. It's basically a sort of approach to identity
Okay.
and the trajectory of basically how academia was treating identity was just speaking very generally here. First, they were kind of talking about different races, and then that didn't work out for obvious reasons. Then the discourse moved to kind of like ethnicity. Ethnicity at some point failed as well because it's really difficult to define what an ethnicity is in a reasonable way. Then the discourse turned into culture. Now, culture by itself has a lot of lineage of what it is by itself, and there are many definitions. But it started basically as something that is parallel to civilization, and it was kind of like a monolith at the first. They weren't different kind of it. It was kind of more like a ladder than many different things. As in, some places are cultured and some places are not. Some places are civilized, some are not. Then the discourse turned into how you have many different cultures. Then it turned into what you call multiculturalism and interculturalism, which means the idea that you have different cultures who have certain interaction between them. That was where we're standing until relatively recently, I think, when people talked about identity. The problem that academia had with this was on several levels. First of all, it's a very ephemeral things that, for example, culture is something that keeps changing all the time. And even if you look at something that's really um, telling of let's say a mastery of a culture, let's say humor, right? How should I say it? If you tell a joke today from Victorian period in England, no one is going to get the joke because the culture is completely different, even though historically not that time has changed. And the second problem is basically if cultures are kind of like separate things that interact with one another, then let's say if you have uh, an American person moving to Japan after 20 years, is his culture, yeah, after 20 years, is their culture American or Japanese?
Oh,
Are
that's
there,
interesting.
yeah,
That's
are
very.
there,
What are you asking me that question?
yeah,
Are
and
you?
then like,
Which
I'm
one?
a, I'm a, I consider myself to be a global person. Global
yeah,
person.
Multicultural.
Multicultural.
well,
Yes.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, but then, will your children be of American or Japanese culture? Will your grandchildren be of American or Japanese culture? By is culture for your is Japanese culture for your grandchildren gonna be like the same as Japanese culture today? It obviously not. So it's kind of like not a very useful way of looking at things. So this
Oh.
is how transcultural studies is trying to bridge the gap. In a nutshell, they're saying trying to define what is a culture and what is, let's say, Japanese or French or German or Israeli culture is not particularly useful. It's creating this artificial definition. What is useful is looking at the process. So they're looking at processes, let's say, at culture as both a product and a process of interactions. So we're let's say we're not interested in saying baguette is a part of French culture. We're interested in saying, well, how did it came to be that baguette is considered French culture in 2023? What was the process that made this a thing? And for us, the process is the thing that's important rather than the given or the definition. I hope it wasn't too long-winded or something. I still did a master's degree in it, so I hope I wasn't bullshitting too hard.
I can see the question mark in your head.
I kind of get it. Like the last part you said, like trying to figure out like the cultures, like how it become to be that with what you see with the baguette.
Yeah.
Very complicated.
You-
I'm
Yeah.
I didn't even get the big
I'm trying. The first part I got lost, but I kind of understand what you're saying. Like just trying to
Yeah.
identify who is who.
Let's go for I think a bit more easy example. Let's say tomatoes come from the Americas, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, originally. So
Oh.
tomatoes did not exist
Oh,
outside of the Americas up until let's say 500 years ago.
Oh.
But they're such an inseparable part of Italian cuisine, right?
Yeah.
No one can imagine Italian cuisine without tomatoes.
Mm.
So how did it come to be that a plant that didn't even exist in Europe 500 years ago is now an inseparable part of what being an Italian is?
Mm.
so
This
you try
is-
and figure out that whole part of it.
Well, depending
Well,
on
your
you know,
studies,
every person has their own specialty. This is what I was saying about how you apply the methodology. Because, for example, I had a colleague of mine who, what she was doing in her masters was that she was looking at tea culture. She came from. She used to live for a while in Singapore, and I think in Tokyo, and in New York, and she was interested specifically in um, how in Asia people are getting more and more used where tea came from, basically, and tea culture comes from. People are getting more and more used and accustomed to consuming their tea out of plastic bottles. And in places like Europe and America, people are actually getting more interested about where the tea is sourced from, what kind of tea is it, what's the correct way to brew it, and everything. And she was really interested how does it affect tariffs regulations of the European Union when they're trading with Eastern European countries. So, for example, this is a very applicable way of of using, let's say, transcultural theory to get something that's practical in the real world. What I'm specifically looking at is I don't know how you so maybe that needs a bit of context. So I'm assuming your listeners probably don't always know what the Yasukuni Shrine is, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I
So
don't even know what that is.
Yasukuni?
yeah.
You've heard of it? Really?
So it's a big deal in Japan in the sense that it's a shrine in Tokyo where people who died in the name of the emperor are enshrined. And the logic behind it, there are many layers to unpack about this, but the logic behind it was that people who die in a violent way may leave vengeful spirits. And if the emperor is the head of the nation and they die in the name of the emperor, it means that it's not just a problem for the emperor, it's a national problem. And so those spirits need to be enshrined and pacified. It's not necessarily memorialized, although it seems this way by a lot of people this way, but that's the original function. And what happened in the 70s, there was this rogue head priest. There's a long story behind that as well. He decided to enshrine all the Class A war criminals from the Tokyo tribunals in the shrine. And ever since, the emperor is boycotting the shrine, and you have conservative politicians sometimes going there, and it's kind of framed as this big provocation. You have people upset about it in Japan about honoring war criminals and also separating the religion from the state. You have places like China and Korea getting upset about it, and it's kind of like a big controversy. At the same time, in a similar time frame, you started having in Israel conservative politicians going to the Temple Mount, if you heard about it, in Jerusalem. And there are many parallels between the two things. So by the way, there are other, I think, similar examples. For example, there's a similarly controversial temple in India that's recently on the news. There is the Hagia Sophia in Turkey, and it's not the only two cases of, let's say, conservative politicians going to a religious place of national importance as a sort of quote unquote provocation. What I was interested in is the framing of provocation in those cases, because in all of those cases, it seems that the powers that be are the people who actually go there. So first of all, who are they provocating against? Who are they rebelling against? And the second thing is, it's really not clear if it's a provocation. You need something to provoke, and you need a target for the provocation. So it's not very clear what is the target of those provocations. And I'm you can say that it's a comparative study, but I'm really trying to say, well, these are not individual cases. This is part of a larger trend of populistic, right-wing populist trends that exist in basically in a transcultural or a transnational situation here. So basically, that's what I'm doing. I think it has certain. I wouldn't say that it's would necessarily be pragmatic in a sense of, let's say, business management situation, but I think it has a lot of pragmatic implementation about understanding how politics work today and how to deal with, let's say, some of the challenges that democracy is facing today.
Have you had the chance to travel much personally to around other areas of Japan?
Not this time, but after my military service, there's a thing with Israelis that they travel around a lot after the military service. So I went to Japan for a month and a half. I did a full month and a half of traveling. Then I traveled quite a lot in the last 2 times that I was here. And this time I wasn't doing the only traveling I did was to Kyoto for work purposes, but mostly, and also to visit colleagues and friends. I've seen most places that I want to see. And I think I don't want to sound like old and grumpy, but I think I'm at an age where I don't go to places to look at things. It's like I can look at them online. Like it's kind of weird to me that like you spend all this money and time and everything, and sometimes like a full week, like you go to some place and you just look at things, and sometimes you eat some things while you're looking at them, and then you go back. I was like, no, I need a reason to go there. Like, yeah.
Do you have a favorite part of Japan that you like the most? That you haven't looked online?
I hate all of it. No, I'm kidding. From the places I've been, I like Tokyo a lot, especially the western part of Tokyo. Um, I enjoyed, um, I think, Himeji and Hiroshima a lot when I was there. I wouldn't mind. It's very far, so I don't really go there regularly. What else? I did my master's was master's. My master's degree was mostly about medieval history in Japan, and I was really interested in Sekigahara, and I went there several times in different seasons, and it was. Um, I would go there again, like to Sekigahara and Azuchijo. I would like to go to Hokkaido at some point, to be honest. But again, I need for me more reason than to go there and look at things and eat things.
You never been to Hokkaido?
I never been to Hokkaido. No,
Oh,
it's super far though.
it's same distance as Hiroshima.
As what?
It's Hiroshima.
Yeah, but for example, when I was in Hiroshima, I was stationed in Kyoto, so it was a little bad there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when you put it that way, yeah,
Yeah.
it's far.
Yeah.
Any like favorite foods of Japan?
It changes, to be honest. Like every time I come here, there are things that I really like and really not care for. For example, this is, I think, my 5th time going to Japan, and I always hated hojicha. And as you can see, this is no longer the case. I'm completely addicted now.
That is true. Like it is an acquired taste. I think I know when I first
It's a bit
came
bitter.
here. Yeah, it's like oh, I don't know if I like that, but
I think the things. I mean, I used to like different things more or less, but I think that the things that I always come back to in Japanese cuisine is obviously sushi and ramen. Also, ramen can be many, many, many things as well.
I'm a big.
I think you got old. That's why you like hojicha.
Maybe I think you know those kind of things that when you're young you refer to as like old people's candies
Yeah.
and old people's food, and you don't like it, but then you get older. It's like I think I like it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but in my case, as I get older, one thing I can't get used to is beer.
Oh
I just cannot drink beer.
man, I could not stand beer at first, and now I'm getting older. I can only drink beer.
When did you start drinking beer?
When I came to Japan,
Japanese beer is good though.
I prefer.
Oh,
beer.
it's Germany.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
guys have-
I was never like a huge fan of beer or wine, to be honest. Going to southern Germany changed my opinion because the beer and white wine there are so good and so accessible. I think that I like beers that kind of like I don't want it to be too potent or too flavorful. I want it to be like a cold beer that kind of like goes down your throat easily and it's not too offensive. So that's basically most German beers. I think in Japan, Sapporo is probably the closest one to it.
Oh, then you just need to go to Hokkaido.
I need to go to more
There you
reason
go.
to
More
go
the
to
reason.
Hokkaido.
You got the reason right there.
Okay, yeah.
Don't go in winter. Go in summer. It's the best time in summer. It's so cool. Yeah. Last question. Any advice you would give to someone looking to travel to Japan or move to Japan?
You want advice from this guy?
Yeah. An educated one. A simple educated
This
one.
guy?
Probably understands the culture. So.
It's really advice from some. Well, my first question would be, for what purpose are they moving?
Oh,
I think it really well. Maybe for moving to Tokyo, right? That I think you shouldn't look at Tokyo as one thing. Because Tokyo is such a huge place and it's such a diverse place, and different neighborhoods in Tokyo are so different from one another. So you may want to research in advance which part of Tokyo fits for what you need in your life. In many ways, and it could be very particular, both in terms of like commute, how much money you're willing to spend, how much you care about nightlife. Sometimes it's a matter of identity as well. For example, if you're LGBTQ, you probably want to be close to somewhere like Nichome. If you want, if you don't like a big city vibe or anything, maybe you want to be in somewhere like far western Tokyo, some Kichijoji or somewhere around there. If you want like a big city vibe, there are places in western Tokyo that you prefer to be in, or So you need to see what's good for you and what part of town you want to be living in.
That's a good answer.
That
That is a very
that's
good answer.
see this is the thing about Ifty, like realistic,
Yeah.
very realistic.
That's
like,
a very good answer. I never
like,
actually thought of it.
yeah,
that
we would
way.
get, if it was us giving
Yeah.
advice, we'd be like, just if you love the culture, just come by. Just,
If you like sushi, come on
yeah,
over. Yeah.
that is
That is
very
a very good answer.
very good answer. Wow. Okay.
Thank you. Wow, you even had me thinking like, if I'm gonna move houses, where am I gonna move to now?
Yeah.
Oh wow, thanks for that. That was very good advice. Clip that up.
Right. Anyways,
Mhm.
Ifty, thank you for coming to our podcast.
My pleasure.
It was nice having you.
Yeah, it's very good. Some very educated answers, but I definitely learned a lot.
I hope you think that transcultural studies is more practical
Yeah,
than it was.
I like your thinking though. Like
Yeah.
the way you think of everything is just so realistic. Even like how you said, like I don't want to go because I can just see it online. Like I get that thinking. That's realistic. So yeah, thank you for your time today.
You want to come back again after your PhD is finished?
I think it's inevitable. I already have an idea what I want to do for my postdoc, and that also would involve going to Japan. I would be surprised if I will not be back in Japan in 2 to 3 years.
Mm.
Yeah, also
Okay.
for I think about half a year or something.
Okay, for sure. Well, when you come back again, let's see how much of your opinion has changed.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it will. I don't trust people who never change their opinions. That's, yeah.
But yeah, it was nice having you. Thank you for coming by. You were very busy. I'm sure you have your research to do and stuff like that, but you came, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we can see you again. Let's see how much you have changed the next time you come by.
Yeah, no, thank you for your time today. Very educated answers, like I said before. I wish you all the best for the rest of your studies. Safe travels back to your home, and hopefully in 2 to 3 years' time we can catch up again and see what else you're being up to. So thank
Yeah,
you
it
for
would
your
be a
time
pleasure.
today.
Thank you.